Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. Thank you for coming out on this beautiful long weekend Sunday. I really appreciate everybody being here. I didn't know there were this many people left in Anchorage. I thought the rest of everybody else was on the Kenai Peninsula or up in the Matsu somewhere. So thank you for coming out today. The title of my talk today is No Matter What. Last week I talked about, how difficult it can be to change our thinking. We have our slogan is change your thinking, change your life. And it can be really tough to change your thinking because we develop these things called neural pathways within our brain, and we keep going back to the same thing over and over again. Sometimes we keep repeating the same pain over and over again because we have these neural pathways. Today I'm going to talk about how we can change those and how we can create new neural pathways that will lead us to more productive, more profound, more satisfying lives. So, new neural pathways. Ernest Holmes wrote, "Right here, a certain amount of adventure, of imagination, must be brought into play to create a feeling of acceptance which will break down these old thought patterns." I mean, Ernest Holmes wrote this almost 100 years ago. The guy was decades before his time to break down these old thought patterns. This week I'll give these tips on how to create the new neural pathways that produce more fulfillment. So I have 5 ways to create these new neural pathways. The first one of which is to understand the power of infinite intelligence. God is not limited in any way except through our own beliefs. Most religions believe that God is both immanent and transcendent. Well, what do I mean by that? Okay, first of all, God is immanent. That's all the omnis. That God is omnipresent. That is that this God, whatever name you choose to assign to it, Spirit, the thing itself, Allah, Buddha, it makes no difference. Whatever we assign to a higher power, whatever that is, it is omnipresent. That is, it is present at every moment in time, and it is present at every point in space. And so that God, that Spirit, is within each and every one of us. Since we exist in time and we exist in space, then that infinite presence is within each and every one of us. That means that there can be no duality. There is no heaven and hell. There is no God and not God. There is only God. Second thing is this infinite presence is omniscient. That is, it is all-knowing. It is more than just knowing all the facts and figures and things. It is infinite intelligence, and it is infinite wisdom. So this presence, this power, this higher power is then all-wise, all-knowing. And the last is omnipresent, omnipotent. It is all-powerful, that this power, this presence is greater than anything. It is greater than anything that we can imagine. Just think, it created all of everything. It created heaven and earth. It created all of everything in the cosmos. And anything with that ability to create certainly must be more powerful than we can easily get our arms around. And I'll throw in another term here to help describe that, and that's ineffable. And ineffable just simply means that it is beyond our capacity to assign words to it. Our mere words don't do justice to the power of this infinite presence. So the second thing I said, it was immanent and transcendent. And transcendent simply means that this power transcends our ability to understand it. It is greater than that. It transcends what we can understand and know ourselves. It's greater than our finite minds can get our brain around. And this infinite presence exists now and always has, no matter what. We don't have a choice in that It exists no matter what. Second tip, we can recognize that this power is within us. Sometimes we forget that we always have access to this power. Always. And that is because it is within us. Everywhere I go, I find myself. And that power is within us. Once again, Ernest Holmes wrote, "Next, we must assure ourselves that we have access to this power. We could never do this if we felt that the power were external to us, if it were something apart or different from our own being. We discover that God is immediate and personal, a possibility latent within the self, but ready to be called upon and used." Once again, Ernest Holmes is decades in front of his time. What's he talking about here? Is immediate and personal, a possibility latent within the self. He's talking about quantum possibilities here. There's an infinite sea, an infinite ocean of possibilities out there. And that possibility is latent within the self and is ready to be called upon and used, no matter what. Reminds me of a story. Two small boys were getting ready to have breakfast. Mom was going to make breakfast for them, and she was going to make pancakes. And the boys were sitting at the table, and they began to argue about which one was going to get the first pancake. Mom decides this is a teaching moment. So being a good religious scientist, she says, "Now boys, we teach that we live in an unlimited universe, in a universe that is abundant with everything that we need. We don't have to fight over the first pancake. There are plenty of pancakes for both of you." Now, Ernest Holmes would say, "Let my brother have the first pancake, for I know that we live in an abundant universe." And boy, she knew she rolled a strike with that one. The two boys just sat there looking at each other. And she went back to the oven and got ready to make the pancakes. And boys were sitting there quiet until finally the older one says, "Okay, today you get to be Ernest Holmes." The power is within us. We can identify with this power. Holmes used to talk about it, and he used this phrase a lot. "I am that which thou art. Thou art are what I am." And always that sounded very biblical, all the thous and arts and all that stuff, and I figured it must be in the Bible somewhere. So I thought, well, if I'm going to use that in front of the congregation, I better check it out. Boy, because there's people out there that know the Bible way better than I do. Well, I couldn't find it. So I went to this thing called the Bible Gateway. And they have a thing, they know the Bible. They have the whole thing figured out. And I'm checking. Bible Gateway doesn't have that in there either. So then I did a little research. That actually comes from Hinduism. It's in Hindi. And I don't even know who these people were. They had names that long I couldn't pronounce. But there was a story of a father and a son. And it's what the father was saying is that presence is within each and every one of us. And we are all part of that presence. Thou art which I am, and I am that which thou art. That presence is within each and every one of us. And once again, we turn to Ernest Holmes. When we realize that all of the spiritual power there is at our disposal, and no matter how limited a viewpoint we have had yesterday, with the limitation that follows that viewpoint, today we can increase our field of inward awareness. Then we make possible a greater influx of the divine through the human that is, through our own thinking. Powerful. And that presence is with us. We identify with that no matter what. The fourth way to increase and to change our neural pathways is to increase our expectation of working in us, as us, through us. Holmes used to say, love points the way and the law makes the way possible. Well, you are the love. And the universe is just sitting there waiting for you to point the way. And you get to choose which way it goes. And you're not limited by what happened in the past. You're not limited by anything. You get to choose your own future. You are not limited by anything. You can do the old ways or you can do a new way. But it's going to respond no matter what. Whatever we put in is going to return to us, no matter what. One of my colleagues told a great story about a student in foundations class. And at the start of the class, this minister had asked the various students to pick out something that they would want to manifest in their life. And he had one young lady. She was a single mom with two boys. I think they probably had pancakes. She lived in a nice apartment. It had hookups for washer and dryer, but she didn't have enough money for the washer and dryer itself. So she was having to every, 2 to 3 times a week, pack everything up, load it into the car, drive to the laundromat, feed the machines, wash and dry her clothes, come back. And she had to do that a couple, 2, 3 times a week. And she so much wanted a washer and dryer. So it came to foundations class. You can manifest this. So she set her intention for a washer and dryer. And she said an affirmation. She did a spiritual mind treatment. She prayed for it. She went so far, she went down to the appliance store, I think it was Sears, and she looked at all of them. She picked out the model she wanted. She got brochures on it. She had a picture of it. She took the picture out, cut it home, and taped it on the wall right where it would go, where the hookups were, to the washer and the dryer. It just even gets better. Because as the class proceeded, then she would pretend she was putting all of her clothes in her basket. She'd take it over to her, and she'd load it in the pretend washer. And she'd go back and wait, half an hour, 45 minutes. She'd come back, she'd take them out of put it into the dryer. Still wasn't getting any washer and dryer. But then she did get a call from a friend who was in kind of a time of transition, and this friend was sort of stuck. She didn't have a place to stay, and she was wondering if she could stay with her. And as much as she didn't want a couch surfer or an extra guest, she went ahead and said, yeah, it's okay, you can stay with me for a while. So her friend came and stayed with her for a few months. And it worked out. It was really a pretty good deal. The boys enjoyed her, and it was a good thing. But then at the end of the time, when the lady got ready to move, because she had saved from not paying any rent for that period of time or whatever it was, what she left this lady was a gift card for a new washer and dryer, the exact model that she had picked out. But you see, she had stepped into that law of circulation. No, she didn't give money here or give money there and get money back. She gave of something even more important. She gave of herself. She gave of her space. She gave of her love. And what returned to her was a washer and dryer. Our expectation of it working in us, through us, it will respond no matter what. The fifth and final one today is to continue until it becomes real to us. Continue in this thought until it becomes real to us. Once again, we turn to Ernest Holmes. I am one with all of the power there is. I am one with all of the presence there is. There is one life, and that life is God, and that life is my life now. This power, this presence, and this life are perfect, complete, whole, and happy. There are new thoughts, new ideas coming to me. I open my whole consciousness to the influx of that which is larger and better. I identify my mind with inward peace and joy. And I think we can almost put a corollary onto this principle. And that corollary is that it's important that we keep our attention focused on that which we are doing. It's important for us to keep our eye on the ball. I think it was 3 years ago, just about 3 years ago, 3 years and a month or two ago, we brought a gentleman and his wife up to Alaska from the lower 48, and he led us through a process where the congregation came together and we redefined our purpose, why we come together as a community, our vision, what it is we want to become, and our mission, what we really want to do here. And we repeat those every Sunday. It's not that I'm trying to torture everybody, repeat this every week. It's so that we can keep our eye on that ball. It's so that we know why we're here, so that we know what we want to become. And the two things that really come to me out of this, I mean, our purpose is wonderful. That awakening to our oneness is powerful. But coming together as community, an inclusive, uplifting community. And number two, our mission of teaching spiritual transformation with grace and joy. Powerful stuff. And I think it's important that we keep our eye on that ball. About 10 days or so ago, I got a call, and it was a guy from Home Office, which always raises an eyebrow. I'm with Home Office, and I'm here to help. Oh, yeah. But he really was. And he set up an appointment for a video conference, and thanks to Neil and Tiffany, we have the technology now. I just went into our library. It was funny because I was going to work out, so I just carried a shirt and I put on my shirt. That's all he could see. He didn't know I was in my shorts below that. And I had this video conference, and what he wanted to talk about was how we raise money and what we do. And we don't do anything special. We pass the hat every week. That's what we do. And but he was really getting a pulse on our organization. And I told him that one of the things that we do is that we repeat our purpose statement, our vision, and our mission every week. And everything that we do, we line up against that mission to teach spiritual transformation. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't support other things, but that's what our main objective is. He said, tell me more about that. And I said, well, the first thing we do every month, at the end of the month, we add up the ACSL Sunday services, we find out what that is, and we cut a check for 10% of it. And the second thing we do every month is we look at that number and we cut a check for 5% of it. And we send that out into the greater Anchorage community to support people whose mission is different than ours. He said, what? You give 10% to the Home Office and then you turn around and give 5% to the Anchorage community? And I said, yes. That's fantastic. That's amazing, he said. I said, it allows us to keep our eye on the ball. It allows us to keep focus on teaching spiritual transformation. Tell me more, he said. Okay, example. A year or two ago, there was a feeling within the center that we should probably do more to help feed the hungry. I mean, there's a lot of homelessness in Anchorage. There's a lot of people without, and we as a community could step forth and help them. And I said no. And I know that a lot of people thought that I probably go home after class at night and sprout horns and a tail and carry around a pitchfork. It's not that we don't believe in helping out, and not that we aren't going to help feed the hungry. It's not our mission. Our mission is teaching spiritual transformation. What we do is support agencies whose mission is to feed the hungry. And wouldn't you know, Spirit steps right in the middle of that. I get a phone call, and it's from FISH, the Fellowship in Serving Humanity. Their mission is feeding the hungry. And they said, can you help us? And I said, you bet. And this didn't get in the e-blast. It didn't get on our announcements. It didn't get anything. One Sunday, in one sentence, in the middle of a talk, I said, would you please bring in mac and cheese and peanut butter? Because Fish is going to come by on Wednesday and pick it up. We had so much mac and cheese and peanut butter, they couldn't load it in their SUV. The ladies were, yes, amazed at the generosity of this community. Because we practice what we believe. We step into that law of circulation. We open our homes to people. Gene and Brian. Every one of our guests comes in and gets to stay at the Hotel Alden, which is, that's one of those ineffable things. So do these 5 things ring any bells with you? I'm talking about God is. I'm talking about I am. I'm talking about I know. I am grateful. Does any of that ring a bell with anybody? What is that? Treatment! Yay, Zoe! The steps of treatment. Friday night, was that? No, last night, night before last. We had a talent show here. It was incredible. If you missed it, I'm sorry. I really do feel sorry for you because it was amazing. We had this wide array of talents that covered so many different things. We had poetry readings. Lynn, that was amazing. Yes. We can't stop and clap for everybody that did stuff because we'd be here the rest of the time clapping. But we had musicians, we had music only, we had song. We broke out a whole bunch, and this wasn't rehearsed or anything. Everybody broke out singing Puff the Magic Dragon. It was awesome. But we came together as community. An uplifting, inclusive community that welcomes everybody. It's our vision of what we want to become. And we keep our eye on our desired outcomes, no matter what. And I also have 6 spiritual practices. And in the interest of time, we will be quick. 6 spiritual practices. Prayer. We've talked about that. Meditation, we talked already about that a little bit. And we have this thing, and it is the first and the third Saturday of every month. Kaleem talked about it earlier. It's called Centering Prayer, and it's sort of a blend of prayer and meditation. It gives you an opportunity to sit and be silent and go within and to pray. Powerful, powerful experience. I invite you to join us. We do affirmations all the time. Who can help me with affirmations? Who are the 4 P's? Personal. Powerful. Positive. Present tense. Free beer tomorrow.
I'm going to show up.
Circulation. I've talked about how we step into, as a community, into circulation. Gratitude. Something that many of our practitioners use. It is so difficult to be in a place of lack and wanting when you're coming from a place of gratitude. When you are thankful for what is within, thankful the things you have, it's really difficult to feel like you don't have enough. And visioning. Another powerful, powerful spiritual practice. And Kaleem talked about it, but we've got a class in visioning this summer. Cindy Hensley is going to be here. She's going to be here all summer, and she's going to teach a class in visioning. And I invite you to sign up and attend that visioning class. We better get this over with. The takeaway today, the conclusion, the thing that I want everybody to remember today, it's another Ernest Holmes quote. Principle is not bound by precedent. There is no law in the universe that seeks to perpetuate old limitations. But there is a law which responds to our greater vision at the exact level of that vision. And so with this awareness of our own inherent divinity, as this awareness of that Spirit that resides within each and every one of us, and awareness of the possibilities that exist. I invite my colleagues, the practitioners, to join me in holding our consciousness in love and light, and just simply knowing that there is indeed a power in the universe, and that power is with us. It is for us. It is a power of good. It is a power of abundance and prosperity. It is a power of perfect health. It is a power of love. And so I speak my word today for each person who's experiencing lack or limitation. We just simply know that we do live in that universe of abundance and prosperity. I speak my word for those who are experiencing health challenges, knowing that within each and every one of us is a blueprint that is perfect health. And I speak my word for those of us who are feeling separation from one another, separation from God, separation from that power. We simply know that we cannot be separate. We cannot be separate from one another. We cannot be separate from God. And so we just give thanks. We give thanks for our awareness of the power and the presence of God within our lives. We give thanks, and now I just step back. I let this prayer go. I release it to the working of a law which always responds. I let it go and let it be, and so it is.
So it is.